What's up guys, Dave here, and I've been filming bushcraft and survival videos for almost 10 years now. If I had to start all over again and build my kit from scratch, this is where I would start. This is a budget-minded video focusing on people beginning bushcraft on a lower budget. Let's start off with the cutting tools. This guy here is the Prandy German-style hatchet. It's made in Italy, and we have a 1.3 pound head and just over a 14-inch handle. And if I had to start all over again, I probably would go for this hatchet. There's a few reasons for that. One reason is that it's big enough to get two hands on it, so you're able to process up firewood a little bit easier than if you had a shorter hatchet, and it's still packable. You also have a very wide blade with that German style head, and that gives you a lot of area to do some very good delimbing. And it's also made very narrow here, so it bites into the wood very well. Another very popular hatchet for beginning bushcraft is the Fiskars X7, and this one here I've had for 12-13 years. This was my original beginner bushcraft hatchet. One thing I really like about this is that you can find it almost anywhere, and that makes it a little bit more accessible to people. Also, it's quite affordable, and it's pretty much indestructible. You're not going to be breaking this handle. It is a little bit smaller, as you can see, than the Prandy. We have a smaller head design when you line them up there, but it is lighter. And it does have kind of a flat Scandi grind to it, a little bit thicker of a head, so it kind of splits the wood open a little bit better. And it comes with a pretty basic plastic axe guard, while the Prandy actually comes with a half decent leather axe mask with a little clip on there. And you could even wear it on your belt if you wanted to. If you have any beginner-friendly, budget-friendly bushcraft kit items that you would like to recommend, leave a comment in the comment section below so other people can kind of scan through to see items that you started off with that you would like to recommend for people. Now let's move on to the saw. So this guy here is a no-name, very basic garden saw that you can find at your local hardware store. And it may cost anywhere from $10 to $20. And basically this is just a very quick filler saw that is going to saw and do the work that you needed to do for bushcraft. You could go for a Baco Laplander, but I would probably save up for a Silky Gomboy, honestly. Save up for a fancier saw. I mean, when I first started, I used the Fiskars X7 and a Mora Companion. I didn't even have a saw when I started off. So just adding a cheap saw would have improved my kit when I started bushcraft. So moving on from the saws, let's get into the fixed blade knives. I got two fixed blade knives in this kit, and I'm going to explain why I have two. So starting with the Mora Basic, the Mora 511. This is a incredibly affordable, the most affordable bushcraft knife that you're going to find, and it's a very, very good carving knife. It is 2 millimeters thick, I believe. Very thin knife, very slender profile, and it feather sticks incredibly well because of that. It's also quite durable. I mean, it's just basically a plastic handle, pretty good high carbon steel knife, this one. You could get a stainless steel version of this, which by all means, I honestly probably would go stainless steel with the Mora knife. And you could choose a companion. That's what I started off with, a Mora Companion instead of this. You could choose a Mora Companion HD. You could choose a Mora Robust. There's the Mora Pro C. There's a lot of versions of cheap Moras. And I think that's the first knife purchase you should make because they're so inexpensive. And this one you can clip onto your pocket. They're really good as backup knives as well, which is why I think this is the first knife you should purchase, because when you do move on to better and bigger knives, this is a great backup companion knife. But moving on to a more bushcrafty full tang knife that is very affordable. So right here we have a full tang knife, and this is made by BPS Knives out of the Ukraine. We have a fairly okay leather sheath, I would say, but it's good enough for the price of these because these are incredibly affordable. I believe I got this for under $50 Canadian. You're not going to find a fixed blade knife that is half decent for less of a price than that. The version that I have here, it's like a Condor bush lore clone, basically. It's got 1066 high carbon steel, so it's not the edge retention is pretty low on this guy, but the good thing is it's very tough. So soft steel means that the toughness is quite high, but you're going to be sharpening it quite a bit, which is not a bad thing when you're starting off with bushcraft. So you can learn how to sharpen your knives with a simple steel that sharpens up really quickly. And they do a lot of things right on this design. It's got a good like handle to blade ratio. You can choke up on it. It's 3 millimeters thick, which is the perfect thickness for a Scandi knife. And I don't think you're going to find a higher value knife, honestly, that's a fixed blade knife outside of the BPS lineup. There's other BPS models that you can go check out, and honestly, just get the one that suits you the best. I think there's like an adventurer model that a lot of people are into. You're going to be able to do some harder tasks than you would be able to do with the kind of smaller Mora knife. And these two knives kind of pair really well together. So now that you have some cutting tools, you're going to need something to sharpen the cutting tools with. And that is the WorkSharp like field guided sharpening system. I think I got that right. But basically you have like 2 diamond stones on either side, and they have like a guide. So it gives you a 20-degree angle. So it makes it easy to kind of get used to sharpening your knives. And you have a coarse side and a fine side. You can pop the stones out, and you could sharpen up your axe by kind of going like that on the axe surface as well. It also comes with a really basic strop that works, and then a ceramic rod here and a little ceramic rod up top. With this guy here, you can absolutely get your knives hair shaving sharp. So that's why I recommend it, because it's an all-in-one system that you could pretty easily bring out into the woods with you. If you like this video, make sure to leave a comment, a like, and subscribe. And if you want me to put out some more beginner-friendly bushcraft videos and tips, let me know in the comment section below. I've considered doing like a series, but I might not do a series and just post a few beginner-friendly videos to help people along with their journey. So you're obviously going to want a flashlight. I don't really care what type of flashlight you have, but you should absolutely get a flashlight. I like flashlights that can double up as a headlamp on my hat. So you could either go for a flashlight or like a headlamp that becomes a flashlight. There's also things out there that do that as well. I have a flashlight that becomes a headlamp. But either way, it doesn't really matter. I would just start off with whatever flashlight you have around the house. You also are going to want a whistle. This is a very basic Coughlin's whistle that has a little button compass and a thermometer on the back. I actually use the thermometer to check the temperature, and right now we are sitting at 18 degrees. It's very nice out. For obvious reasons, whistle, compass, thermometer, it's useful. These are very cheap. You probably want a better compass than this, especially if you're going very deep into the woods. I wouldn't rely on like just a button compass. You're also going to want to find a ferro rod and get used to using a ferro rod. Building fires with ferro rods will teach you good skills about how fire works and how to build fires properly. And I also recommend that you always carry a lighter or Bic lighter. This is a jet lighter. So you always want to have multiple options for fire. So I usually carry a couple ferro rods and a couple lighters in each of my bags, and you can also use matches too if you want to. Always bring both, lighter and ferro rod. Whether you use the ferro rod or not, that's up to you. I do recommend getting used to building fires with ferro rod because it's going to increase your skills in bushcraft and fire making anyways. I highly recommend that you get a foil mylar blanket as well. This is one of those things that if you fail at fire, you fail at shelter, you have something happens to you, you break your leg, you want to be able to make sure that you are warm and can survive a night. So they are super useful, and I honestly get the very basic ones in a large pack so I can, use them for shelter builds and stuff. Next up, you're going to want some self-defense, and outside of your axes and knives, you're going to want something like a can of bear spray or even a handgun. I'm Canadian and it's hard for me to carry around a handgun, so I opt for a can of bear spray. Now let's move on to cordage. So there's 3 different types of cordage that I typically bring. First up, paracord. You're gonna wanna buy 1 hank of paracord. and you're going to want to use it wisely. I would only use your paracord for your ridge lines for tarps and for things that are going to support a lot of weight. Otherwise, paracord is a little bit unnecessary for some other very minimal like tying tasks. That's why I like to also carry mason twine with me. Mason twine, this is a roll from the dollar store. Usually I will like roll this up into a much like smaller little hank, but they come in a roll like this, and this is well strong enough to do a lot of like simple tasks. And my third cordage that I like to use is jute twine, which is not as strong as the mason twine, but it's also super affordable. You can find it at the dollar store. And this also doubles up as some tinder. Next up, you're definitely gonna want to build a personal survival kit. You can build these in like little tins, little containers. I've got mine in a waterproof plastic container with like a rubber seal around the end. And it's basically, you're gonna be carrying like water purification pills, which is very important when you're beginning bushcraft. That's gonna be like one of your ways to purify water, is using water purification pills. You're gonna have very basic like medical kit. So like gauze, medical tape, band-aids. You want, I got a lighter in here, some fire starters, some medication, things for like diarrhea, for headaches. You're going to want to look at another video on YouTube basically and build your own little survival kit. I highly recommend when you're beginning bushcraft to bring toilet paper with you, because using moss and leaves just sucks. Now, as far as cooking goes, I have a few options for you. When I first started out, I just got a stainless steel camping pot, and I didn't spend any money on the pot. You can find camping pots at like thrift stores. I bought a whole set of stainless steel pots like this for like $4 at a thrift store one time. That will kind of get you going and get you in the game. You actually don't need a stainless steel water bottle right off the bat. You can use an Nalgene bottle or plastic water bottles, and then use your water purification pills and a stainless steel pot to start off with. But eventually I would recommend to get a stainless steel water bottle, because you can purify your water in one of these. I went and put a wire around it so I can hang it. And after that, you can also go for like a stainless steel mug. This is the Stanley mug. It's pretty affordable and readily available at many different locations. My actual cooking kit revolves around my stainless steel water bottle, this mug here, and another mug that like nests over top of this mug. You're also going to want some gloves when you're out here. To start off with, you can easily get some gardening gloves that are $1 or $2, and they just protect your hands from getting splinters. So outside of garden gloves like that, you can go for like hide or leather gloves for work around the fire. You can grab onto hot rocks and stuff with these sorts of gloves, but they tend not to, like, it's very hard for me to grip onto my tools with these gloves. It's also quite important to have some decent rain gear, and you're also going to want some decent hiking shoes. Those things are actually more important than buying like an expensive knife or an expensive axe. An important item for me is a bear bag in my type of woods. So I always bring a waterproof like 5-liter bag that you can throw your food up into a tree at nighttime. Another more like optional item is something like a water filtration system like the Sawyer Squeeze or the Life Straw. I do recommend going and getting like a sit pad or a knee pad of some sort. This is just a dollar store gardening pad that I cut off like the little handle part just to make it a little bit more compact. Also, you're obviously going to want a tarp. And this is just a 6x8 standard hardware store tarp that's in a camo pattern. They are not particularly like compact, and they're a little bit noisy, in the wind if it's a bit windy. But they are inexpensive. They are easy to find. They come in lots of different colors, and they work. If I had to recommend a size, it'd probably be 6x8 would be the smallest, and maybe like 8x10 would probably be like one of the bigger ranges for these, because if you go any bigger, they tend to be quite bulky and heavy, very noisy, and kind of like clumsy and awkward to use. Now, you're obviously going to need some sort of bag to put all of your stuff in. When I started out, I used my high school bag, and I just attach things to the outside of it with cordage, and honestly use whatever bag that you have at hand when you're first starting out. And then you can go onto Amazon. There's plenty of bags now that are super affordable. You're also probably going to want a sleeping system as far as a sleeping bag and sleeping pad. It's not 100% necessary. And when I first started doing bushcraft, I just slept in the dirt. I didn't bring anything out with me because I thought that was what you did when you went bushcrafting. So it's a good idea to invest into a sleeping pad and bag eventually. But a lot of people will have a sleeping bag, or their parents will have a sleeping bag, or friends will have a sleeping bag that you can borrow. That's what I recommend to start off with. And then you can easily just find foam sleeping pads for pretty inexpensive that are bomb-proof to get you going. So there you go, a very nice budget bushcraft friendly, beginner friendly bushcraft kit. I think I said bushcraft enough times there, right? And if you like this video, make sure to check out this one right here.